We can't really talk about Russia and Central Asia, but Russia mainly, the Soviet Union, without talking about two men. First is Tsar Nicholas the Second. He was Tsar up till October 1917. The Bolshevik Revolution, well, he was still Tsar, but there was a revolution underway of the White Russians, which was the aristocracy, and the Red Russians, which were the communists. So this is the picture, the last known picture of Tsar Nicholas II. The communists murdered him and his family. This was the communist guards, so he was killed shortly after this picture was taken. Not happy looking. So they basically herded his wife and kids in a room and shot him to death, and then cut him up and burned him in acid so that no one would try to make some kind of symbol out of their bodies to carry on the fight against the communists. So, of course, he was no saint either. The aristocracy of Russia made the people of Russia, the serfs, what they were, the peasants, what they called them. The reason is they were rough. They were very rough on their people. They had nothing, so that's why they revolted and turned to communism. So we go from Tsar Nicholas II to this other fellow, Vladimir Lenin. This is the other man to talk about. He is the founder of communism. He's the founder of the communist movement in Russia. He is a revolutionary. He brought the workers up to power and is revered as a god still today, even though the Soviet Union is long gone. They collapsed in 1991. So you see, this is some of the propaganda photos, but he was quite a speaker and drew crowds everywhere. And when they said Lenin was in Moscow, it was with reverence of somebody like an Abraham Lincoln or something like that. So let's start out with this period of Russian history, the Russian Revolution, white versus red. And there was a film called Dr. Zhivago. It was made by David Lean back in 1968 or 69, and there was a great film that gives you a good sense of what Russia was about at that time and the making of modern day Russia. So let's take a look at it. The reason is I want you to take a look at some of these film clips to give you a sense of the intense desperation and the intense feelings of what made the Russian Revolution. Okay, this is a movie clip from Dr. Zhivago. There's going to be several to give you a sense of the turbulent times and the early formation of the Russian Revolution. Tsar Nicholas II had was very did not permit demonstrations, didn't like anybody challenging his authority, and we see the young communist revolutionaries carrying flags and playing a band music being cut to pieces by the Tsar's guards. So let's watch this to give you a sense of the conflict. So here we go. You hear the band in the distance, and these are the Tsar's guards. This is Dr. Zhivago, but this is the main character. He's kind of a standby. He really doesn't understand what's going on. This is the agitator. He's the main character in the film.
No, save us!
So here they get to charge the revolutionaries. He's a very committed revolutionary. witnesses the butchery. So we go on to the next clip and kind of get a little better clue to see what all this is about. Okay, here we are, the White Russians versus the Red. The White Russians were the military establishment, and this was also during World War I, when Germans were invading Russia, and that turned the tide in favor of the communists, because for the first time, people were beginning to doubt the Russian, the Tsar and his leadership. And watch how they turn the soldiers to their side. The communist revolutionaries turns the soldiers to their side. It's a very dramatic scene, a little bloody. If you're a little queasy at such things, don't look. But it is this won Oscars, believe it or not, so back in the day. Here we go.
Come back! Stick together! Stick together and we'll be all right. And be ready for them.
Look at you. Two-way speed.
Turn round, lads! Get back in your ranks! Get back in your ranks, I say! Don't stand here, digital cowards! Listen, lads. 10 miles up that road are the Germans! Rubbish! Not rubbish! They're coming! And they're coming fast! You've let them in! They're coming for your wives, your houses, your country.
Your country, officer!
Yes, my country! And Get back in your ranks! Get back in your ranks! Get back in your ranks, I say! Get back! Get back in ranks!
Okay, we'll stop that and we'll have one more scene, which I think kind of gives us an idea. Now, this is a scene I think was the most important at all. It explains how the young communist movement turned the soldiers and the whole military establishment to their way of on their side. We start out with a war being declared in 1914 or 15 against the Germans. Everybody's patriotic for Mother Russia. The Tsar's in power. The actor, the guy that played Ben Kenobi in Star Wars, I can't think, Alec Guinness, that's him. He actually narrates this, saying how he's turning, how he's capturing the hearts of the soldiers when the boots wear out. These are young peasant men joining up, first time they've ever worn uniform or boots, and they're all excited and everybody's kind of together. And then it turns after 4 years of war. So here we go. I think this explains it the best. So let's sit back and watch it.
In bourgeois terms, it was a war between the Allies and Germany. In Bolshevik terms, it was a war between the Allied and German upper classes, and which of them won was a matter of indifference. I was ordered by the party to enlist. I gave my name as Petrov. They were shouting for victory all over Europe, praying for victory to the same God. My task, the party's task, was to organize defeat. From defeat would spring the revolution, and the revolution would be victory for us. The party looked to the conscript peasants, most of them wearing their first good pair of boots. When the boots wore out, they'd be ready to listen. When the time came, I was able to take 3 battalions with me out of the front line, the best day's work I ever did. But for the moment, there was nothing to be done. There were too many volunteers, like me. Mostly it was mere hysteria. But there were men with better motives, men who saw the times were critical and wanted a man's part. Good men wasted. Unhappy men, too. Unhappy in their jobs. Unhappy with their wives. Doubting themselves. Happy men don't volunteer. They wait their turn and thank God if their age or work delays it. The ones who got back home at the price of an arm or an eye or a leg, these were the lucky ones.
Very brutal, that war.
Even Comrade Lenin underestimated both the anguish of that 900-mile-long front and our cursed capacity for suffering. By the second winter of the war, the boots had worn out. But the line still held. Their greatcoats fell to pieces on their backs. Their rations were irregular. Half of them went into action without arms, led by men they didn't trust.
Come on, you bastards!
And those they did trust,
Come on, comrades. Come on. Come on.
At last, they did what all the armies dreamed of doing. They began to go home. That was the beginning of the revolution.
I'm filming.